this is the, August 13th workshop in preparation for the regular meeting, Wednesday, August 14th, tomorrow. Madam Clerk, roll call.
Mr. Cantala Mesa,
Here.
Mr. Malloy,
Here.
Ms. Frenchco.
Okay, Commissioner, if we could, we're gonna start out with, Julie Green. She has another engagement, another meeting.
Yes.
We're gonna start with our planning commission. She has something she'd like to address with us first and foremost.
Okay, thanks, Commissioners. Emily Moran and Andrew.
Julie Green.
Julie Green, Trumbull County Planning Commission. Emily Moran and Andrew are here also, so they can stay during the meeting. I have to head down to a Golden Triangle meeting on the third floor. But I did want to introduce this to the Commissioners for your consideration for funding. So just to give you a brief background on this project, it's Clean Ohio grant application to address one of the properties that are in violation through the FEMA audit conducted in 2020. This has been an ongoing process. The Commissioners have allocated ARP funds to do all of the required studies that FEMA has stated are necessary in order for them to offer any sort of concurrence on a mitigation plan. And this is all in our role as the administrator of the floodplain regulations on behalf of the Commissioners. And so one of the homeowners indicated they would be interested in having their home purchased through the Clean Ohio program. We met with the homeowner and the homeowner's son several months ago via telephone on a number of occasions, and we asked them to put into writing their commitment to participate, and that's what you see in front of you. I have this one-page letter that states that in order for us to move forward and add man-hours to this project, we wanted some commitment on their end that they'd be willing to accept the fair market value that the appraisal revealed, as well as the donation of the local 25% match. You can read the second paragraph that states as much, that they're willing to accept the fair market value purchase of the property if we're funded, less the 25% for the local match. Yesterday, we had a phone conversation with the owners. He stated he did not interpret that to mean that it was the responsibility of the homeowner to forego the 25%, and they don't agree with it. I explained that if they are not willing to provide that matching fund as a donation, then we would not be competitive and we would not receive the funding. You have to have 25% match. And so, given the I would say at least 100 hours we've spent on this since May, with the full understanding that they were willing to participate. My then next thought was, I'll bring it to the Commissioners and let you decide if you would like to provide that local match. We're still working with MS Consultants to determine how much of their engineering work that you've already committed funds for can count. We won't have that final number until probably next week. At that time, we can bring to you more specific numbers, but it would probably be at least, I'm thinking, between $25,000 and $50,000 in order for us to be able to apply for these Clean Ohio grant funds, which, again, we've done 80% of the work on this grant already. It's not an easy process, but I understand that that's not a possibility. I just wanted to bring it to your attention and ask whether you would consider funding it, if that's even an option, and just leave it there for your discussion.
So if we did that, we would pay the match, but then the homeowner would receive the full $215.
Mm-hmm.
Who's his son? What's his first name? Do you know?
Russell, yeah, Russell Ruan.
Okay. It looks like a D on here. There was a witness.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to make sure it's not a administrator from Weathersfield Township or anything like that. I don't want to be caught in a situation.
No, that's Dave Rowland.
Right. This is different. This isn't him or his family that you know of.
I do believe they are related.
They are related.
Because I did ask that question the first time we met with the Ruans, but I don't know the relationship. I don't know.
Okay.
That wasn't something that we, took into consideration.
I'm just saying, as officials,
I
we deal with them in Weathersfield. I don't want it to look like it's his mom or something, and we're approving this or whatever. Because I see the witness is a D. Rowan.
Yeah, I
That's
don't
why I
know if
asked.
that's him or not.
I mean, this is just one of the property, Mauro Cantala Mesa Commissioner, this is just one of the properties that were in question,
Yeah.
that we were, just happened to, there's no correlation
No.
between the two, so.
No, they weren't
but-
selected.
But I think that it's necessary that we do fund this. This is, when that 2020 FEMA audit came out and found a lot of these sort of sins of the past, and not this board, not that planning director, years ago, when these things were permitted, we're kinda in a box, and we have to, we either send back this money, or we actually, make it right. And I think that's, unfortunately, we gotta have skin in the game too, as commissioners, make sure that these property owners are in compliance, or else lengthy court battles, who knows what.
Right, exactly, and we've already had one of the 5, Julie Green, Trumbull County, we've already had one of the 5 households in our local court systems, and the judge in the matter stated that they are not willing to pursue it. And so at that point, we had asked FEMA, well, if our local judiciary is not willing to pursue enforcement, what is our next move? Have we satisfied our obligation, meaning the commissioners, under the flood regulations as they stand? And that's when they came back and said, no, we can't say that, we can't give you an answer until all of these very costly, studies are done, H&H, base flood elevation determinations, upwards of, I would say, what did we allocate for MS? Close to $400,000 was allocated for MS consultants through ARPA. I think it was like $370. So, that was a cost that the commissioners took on, to, sort of offset that debt burden for these properties who were identified as being in violation after 30 years. 4 of the 5 properties, houses were built in the early 1990s.
Now, is this gonna set a precedent for the other 4 properties, that, they paid the match for them, now we gotta pay for the other 4? If we are in the same situation, then we're in a situation where we're paying $250,000 instead of $50,000?
We're already paying for the other properties. This is a unique situation because it is a grant program, so technically, they are receiving grant funding through Clean Ohio, so the entire project budget is about $400,000 total. So we had intended to apply for, 75% to cover that. The other 25 is the responsibility of us to sort of, map out or, confirm that we have that. A lot of that 25% can already be counted from the ARP money that you've already committed, but it doesn't cover the entire 25%.
You're looking for a piece of the match, not the entire match.
Correct.
Arthur Uter, Trumbull County Auditor.
Correct.
Okay.
So the final budget is about, right around there, 185 plus the 215. Again, we're waiting for MS to give us a final budget. And then 25% of that, 26% of that would have to be local match. And we're anticipating at least 70 to 80,000 has already been identified. It would be the gap between the rest, which would be a little over 100. Where we are.
So do you want a decision, is this something we have to do today?
No.
Or is this something
No,
that
Yeah.
we'll get the MS
No,
estimate and then
Right.
be able to make a decision?
we will
on it?
finalize the budget and present it to the commissioners next week for your review and approval, if you can. The deadline for the submission of this grant is September 13th, and so,
And this would be contingent on us getting the grant? so
Correct.
No grant, then we're
correct,
not obliged.
correct.
Okay.
All right?
That sounds good.
And thank you for letting me go first, and if you have more questions about it, Andrew's gonna stay and Emily's gonna stay to talk about the other items on here.
Just one other thing, and let's investigate this D ruling on here to see whose signature that is before we make a vote like that.
Okay.
Andrew, can you find that out?
Because if that was, then,
Sure.
I think we'd have to abstain or abstain outside opinion, I guess, but, or prosecutor's opinion, but. Okay,
I'll give
very
a
good.
copy to Bill.
Very nice.
Thank you,
Thank you, Julie.
Thank you, Julie.
Good luck with your meeting.
thank you.
Anybody else have anything pressing that wants to go to the front?
If I can, that would be great,
Okay.
because I have him here.
Go ahead, Casey,
Is that
if
okay?
you have to go someplace, that's fine, we just wanted, it's not that we have to go someplace, it's just kind of important, and we wanted to address it quickly. Go ahead.
Okay, sorry, thank you for letting me sneak ahead. Casey McDonough, 911 Director. I have Mark Rao with me, AT&T. I think we've touched on this a little bit before, but this is about a 5-6 year process of what we've just been tasked with cleaning up. We had contracts for services with Lumen / Brightspeed, for our 911 equipment. Lumen is the main, vendor. They subcontracted with Brightspeed to do all our CPE, customer premise equipment. So all our 911 Vesta equipment, that's at the actual PCC, 911. At our facility, there's also some maintenance, positions over at Warren, Niles, Lordstown, and Girard. All those positions in total were being handled by Brightspeed. Those guys were there from the very beginning. They know the ins and outs of the whole system. They actually helped set it up. Several years ago, Lumen said, hey, we're getting out of the business. We're gonna stop providing Brightspeed. They're gonna stop doing your service. Every time they do that, Patty and them would hear rumblings saying, no, they're gonna prolong it. They're gonna continue covering it. It's just kind of like in issue with them internally. So this has gone on for 3-4 years where this has happened, where they've said they were gonna cancel service and we would need to find a new vendor, and then they continue to go with it. We were technically supposed to be covered till September of 26 with our contract. Back in April, I got an email saying, hey, we're gonna cancel your service, you're gonna need to find a new vendor. Then we spoke with Tom and Jeff from Brightspeed, who were our current vendors, and they said, yeah, we're hearing rumblings of this, but this is the same thing that's happened for many years. We're hearing that we're gonna cover you through October of this year. So I'm like, okay, well, let me know, because it takes a while to do all this. So to make a long, complicated story short, they ended up in May saying, nope, we're done, we're canceling your service. I sent that email to Bill, he reviewed it and said, yeah, they can cancel service with 30 days notice, so we're kind of up a creek without an oar, so to speak. So we started reaching out for vendors, to get quotes for service. We would only have to do for the CPE, for the actual hardware and equipment. I reached out to Frontier, Frontier, Mission Critical Partners, the last one in Indiana is InDigital, and then AT&T. Of those quotes, Frontier came in at the cheapest at $24,000. Their closest techs are an hour and a half away. I had Frontier in my previous county, and the service was not good. 2 of the people that I did have with Frontier are no longer with Frontier. If they were still there, I would have considered going with Frontier. Mission Critical Partners is in Pennsylvania. They're $90,000 a year. InDigital is based out of Indiana, and a lot of their service would be remote work, not so much on-site, and they were at $50,000. And then AT&T, who services several of our neighboring counties, including Maggie McGee over at Mahoning. She's been with them for over 7 years. They came in right around $50,000 as well. So they're right in the middle of the pack. Frontier obviously is the cheapest. Mission Critical is the highest. And then we have the 2 that are right at $50,000. It would be my recommendation to go with AT&T because A, they're close. They have techs right out of Youngstown. They have a plan to move us to a hosted solution in the future. So this would be like a 1 year to get us through because we're in a dire situation with not having any coverage. Obviously, we didn't budget for this because we were supposed to be under coverage through 2016 or 2025, 26. So we're kind of at a dire situation. We dodged a bullet last week with the tornadoes that came through, that we did not have any critical infrastructure damage to any 911 equipment. We did, however, lose our anti-alley connectivity to the CAD, which basically, when you call 911, it pre-populates the address so the dispatcher doesn't have to do it, it's already in there. That did go down. While that is an issue, it's not life or death, it's just more of a pain for the dispatchers to have to do that manually. But, what I would like to say is, I contacted Mark, because we've been working for about 2 months, trying to go back and forth through legal to get contracts approved, so I could get to this point with you guys, and he sent over a tech and got us back up and running the other day while we aren't even covered with them, just to help us out, because that's the kind of thing that they do. after talking with Maggie, she said that's what they always do, they step up and they do stuff when they need to. So it'd be my recommendation to go with them. The only hiccup that I have, or that we have, the contract for the service agreement, for the pricing, they took out the indemnification clause that's in there through their contract, which was good with the law department, the legal. However, their master service agreement does have an indemnification clause in there, which legal said they don't like to have those clauses in there. However, that doesn't really pertain to what they're covering for us. We don't have any network pieces with them. So legal, I brought him to kind of explain that stuff, so if you guys have questions, so that kind of all flows through, plus legal's here. Jason had said you guys can use your discretion, but we're kind of in a situation where we have no vendor right now. So like this last week when we had that issue, I called the guys from Brightspeed who usually help us out. They're like, hey, we've been under strict orders, we are done helping you guys with anything. So we're in that situation where if something really crashed with 911, we would be in a very precarious situation.
Yeah, two questions I got for this. You said first, you don't have a budget for this, but we had a budget if we were gonna be covered by the other provider, if we needed to call Brightspeed. So why can't we shift that budget from what we were gonna pay Brightspeed to what we're gonna pay AT&T now?
We received an $18,000 credit, which obviously won't cover all of it. That $18,000 credit, while that got transferred, while we were waiting to see if we were gonna be covered or extended, we had that network upgrade project with Lumen. So we had an outstanding bill for there, so because we're only getting our money budgeted like quarterly now instead of the full budget up front, Patty had to shift money, so we had to pay Lumen for all that, because we're paying basically.
Yeah, but you said we were gonna be covered till September 26th with the old contract through Lumen and Brightspeed. Where's next year's money or the
No,
money
I'm
after
sorry,
that
September
budget?
25, I keep thinking this year. Basically, we were paid up, we have an $18,000 credit is what we received. So we ended up having to shuffle that money over towards Lumen for the network project. We're only getting like quarterly dumps now, as opposed to previously where we would get it all up front and then we could manage it and deal with issues that would come up and stretch it. So, not knowing that we were gonna have to do this, nor, you know, we weren't able to prepare for that. So that's why I reached out to Martha, and she said we could potentially use sales tax, for this year.
Christy and I have already had the
But
conversation.
when we shifted the money from one to another, why didn't we get permission to do that, to shift it out of this and put it into this? I guess is the question that pops up then.
Well, you're going to have to spend
We're gonna have to pay
the same
Lumen
amount-
anyway, that was probably
but the
budgeted,
same amount
right?
of money,
Mm,
right? Well, that was also not necessarily an expected
exactly.
That's
Because-
what she's
so,
saying.
because
There's
the
two
Lumen-
unexpected
right.
expenses. She took the credit that she got
Mhm.
from Brightspeed, applied it to
Lumen.
to Lumen, which was the 18,000 unexpected expense. And
Why
then
was that
different-
unexpected? Why was that
So
not budgeted?
that was the project where Lumen went through and changed all their price rates. We were gonna jump up $1,500 per month. So we renegotiated and went with the new contract where basically we're removing Brightspeed completely from the picture and going strictly with Lumen. So we're not paying Brightspeed and Lumen $10,000 a month. Now we're just gonna be paying Lumen. And instead of it going up to $12,000 a month for the same service that we were getting, it's going up to $13,000 a month. So we're increasing $1,000 a month, but we're getting redundancy, which we didn't have before. So before, like if Warren would go down, now everybody will stay up. So that's part of that, that new network that we're implementing, which is gonna take probably a good 6 to 8 months. They're gonna be tied in, if we do go with AT&T, they'll be tied in directly with that project as well, because they all have to work together and tie into that network. So, it's very complicated, but basically, we're cleaning up messes of things that we've discovered that weren't handled multiple years ago with the network.
Okay, now, Lumen, you said they did all their stuff through Brightspeed. Who were they recommending to go to? They didn't leave us high and dry and
So
wipe their hands with it. There's gotta be someone they push their work off to.
They push work off onto, they want you to deal with Motorola partners, because Motorola is who our equipment is through.
Did you get a quote from them?
AT&T, you can only buy equipment through them, they don't do the maintenance part, they do the software. So I spoke with Lisa Flask, who was the former director at Lumen, she is now with Motorola. So there's been a lot of changing of hands of people are jumping ship to who different things. So it's been,
So what,
like I said, it's been
what's the
fun.
total amount difference that we're talking about?
So AT&T is $50,000, $65.94. Frontier was $24,000,
But they're terrible, or not?
at least from my experience, they are. Mission Critical Partners, which handles Mercer County in Pennsylvania, they were $89,000.
Okay,
And In Digital, which is based out of Indiana, was $50,025, so they're like $40 more than In Digital, but they're right here in our backyard.
right, makes sense, okay.
And he has a plan to move us forward to a hosted solution in the future, which would mean we would no longer be, have to handle all that equipment. Basically, we would get refreshes every 4 to 5 years with them, as opposed to having our equipment for 8, 9 years and being in the situation we're in where it needs updates, needs to be replaced.
And that would be all Motorola equipment?
Yes. Which Motorola is our radio vendor as well.
Yes,
So what this does is it kind of streamlines us so we're not dealing with 5 vendors where they can all sit there and point at each other.
right,
And that's the issue we're dealing with Lumen and Brightspeed. We're stuck with Lumen because they hold our network as far as the connectivity between all of our sites, but we're trying to get rid of the Brightspeed portion of it, so now it's just strictly Lumen, strictly AT&T, and we can try to streamline and remove vendors from the loop of where you can point at each other.
okay.
The one thing I see we would need in here, just to satisfy the demands we had lately, when will the contract start, when would it end? It says a 1-year contract, but that's,
Yeah, I think
Kind of
on the
ambiguous.
actual paperwork, it starts August 1st, but being that, we're already past August, we can make that adjustment to
Yeah, we can make those.
whenever you would sign it.
Disney was the one commissioner, of course, she's not gonna.
Yeah,
want
have you
anything
sent,
redone.
and please send the contract over.
Right, we need
No,
the
for us to
contract
review.
and the exact dates on it before we can vote on it.
So when you have an idea of what meeting you would like it on, we can have it set for that date. Well, it'd be tomorrow if I can get
Right,
the contract run,
right, it's on the draft agenda.
for tomorrow,
For
correct,
tomorrow,
but
number 9.
my more meaning for coming here today and bringing him was if you guys had questions, that way we could work through them before we get to the meeting and then turn the meeting into a 3-hour discussion like that.
No, I know.
So,
I mean, would it be possible, Alex Stevenson, Bush Human Resources Director, would it be possible to have some verbiage in there effective upon execution? So that way it's 1 year, or is that your issue is? the
Or is it
deadline?
that time sensitive that it has to be this week, and it can be put off to next week, and you can,
I
Forward
mean,
over the
it's time
contract for us
sensitive in the fact of if something goes wrong with our equipment, we
Okay.
have no vendor,
Right.
but
well, then I
can-
don't wanna do it next week, yeah.
So,
Can you forward the contract over to us, and we'll
yeah,
look
can
at
we
it?
get an updated contract to say go into effect with tomorrow's date?
I can certainly do my best, but I will try. Normally what we do, is we'll do it for 2 weeks. So if we started at,
August 1st,
August
I think is what
15th
it
or
was,
the
yeah.
end of August, whatever the case may be. Mark Rowell, AT&T, thank you for allowing me to be here. Real quick, I'll get into the contracts, but I think from a cost perspective, I'd like to sort of justify where we're at. Meaning that, as Casey mentioned, we do support Mahoning County. Not only Mahoning County, we support Portage County, Summit County, Stark County, and others around the area. You're not alone in this scenario with how Brightspeed dropped the ball. We recently acquired, Lorraine County as well, so we cover them from that perspective. Mansfield and a couple other ones are gonna be under contract. So with that being said, AT&T, we have a plan going forward from the next generation 911 side of things. One of those that Tacey mentioned that I think is important for you guys to realize is that the hosted platform that we were talking about, all of those counties are currently on it. And from a cost perspective, if we were to come in, and we sell more Motorola gear than Motorola does, we're their largest vendor. So if we were to come in and say, and you were at that time for a hardware refresh, it's usually every 5 to 6 years. If you were to stay in a prem-based scenario, you're talking probably close to $800 to $1 million of hardware. Going on the hosted platform, that number is significantly reduced. We can make it either a CapEx or an OpEx, but what we normally see is around half the cost of that. So that, the reason being is, and I'll be brief on the technical side, is that in a hosted platform, all the guts and the servers are located at a central location. We have one in Kent, Ohio, our central office, and we have one in Dublin. So it's proprietary to the state of Ohio. And so then we're just, at the prem base, we're just doing the minimal hardware because all of those guts are already in place. So that's where the cost savings comes into play. And, you can talk with Maggie, you can talk with the SECC and Summit. We just did some things with them. So we are envisioning, the next generation 911 side of the house, and I won't get too deep into this, but the state of Ohio is providing us with a EZNet solution where it's changing how we do business in 911. It's a great accomplishment, and it's been going on for a while, but to do that, there's also costs associated with making that happen. When you come under our platform, those costs go away. So as you proceed, you know, to Tasty's point, we can start some conversations to say, okay, instead of going to that big level of hardware, we can then talk about going onto the hosted platform along with your other, you know, surrounding, PSAPs communities. So, you know, we have 4 to 6 technicians that are located in the area. We have service level agreements, you know, and if you talk to anyone, you know, we just did a, consolidation, well, no one likes to use the word consolidation, but in Summit County, we did it in the, November timeframe for elections. You could talk to them, it went seamlessly, it went so good that they won awards in the state, NINA Association, for doing that, because there was some consolidation and just how it went through and everything. So, you know, we're very proud of what we do. We'd love to have you aboard. I think from the contract standpoint, one thing that we have to keep in mind is the master service agreement that does have an indemnification clause and it's in a link on the actual contract. And that MSA is sort of all-encompassing to all of AT&T's products. That's why we have that, and then we also have the pricing schedule. You know, we worked with your law group to remove language from that pricing schedule, to have that removed and some other minor things. So from that pricing schedule, there's no talk of that. And like I said, really from the MSA standpoint, since it covers all of our networking and our circuits, it's more geared to the overall picture. But once we have that, the pricing schedule in place, that sort of supersedes everything else that we do. Same contracts were signed by Lorraine and some others. So, you know, we'd love to have you on board. We have a vision, you know, going forward. And, you know, I think our service is second to none, and it's just continuing to grow.
Regarding the indemnification clause, because I've been here, I know the prosecutor's office is not favorably upon indemnification clauses. So are we okay to proceed on that?
This is one I'd have to rely on whatever it was that Jason both did, and I absolutely trust his take on things. You know, he was the one who spent a lot of time going through this agreement back and forth, I know. But without him, you know, specifically to explain the nuance, I really would hesitate to say much about it.
Yeah, to reiterate, there was some identification clauses on the pricing schedule itself.
Okay.
That was entirely removed. So what we're talking about is on a master service agreement, there's a link that has, you know, like I said, all of our products from a network perspective. And once you click on that link, it's at the bottom of it, there's an identification clause on there. I don't have the ability to go to my legal team because that is that's a mass multiple service agreement to get it removed. So what we did was we obviously removed it from the pricing schedule, and that is what will be.
That's really, yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
That's what we're looking at. That has the pricing on it, obviously, that has all the T's and C's.
Do we have that opinion from Jason?
Yeah, I'm trying to find the exact wording that he used right here.
Since we have you here with your knowledge, John, any input on this?
911 stuff?
Yeah. First, that was Bill Danzo speaking earlier in the legal opinion, now
Yeah.
John Lutz, I'm asking.
CCA.
Having originally been on the 911 committee at the state level, working on it, but, we've made great strides finally in bringing us into a next-gen situation, and, you know, my understanding of what their equipment and their service, I've heard nothing negative about that.
And this does go in with the governor did announce his next-gen initiative here in Trumbull County right after State of the State speech, so this kind of ties in with you guys with that.
Absolutely, it's great. Our hosted platform is ready for it. There's some components to do it on a prem-based scenario compared to what we're doing, but we'll be ready for it. We're excited for it, and you know, a lot of that work will be done by us and not by Trumbull County.
Casey, can you forward us that opinion once you find it?
Yeah, basically, in short, he just says the first AT&T agreement that I reviewed contained an indemnification clause that violates the opinion of the AG. As such, Trumbull cannot agree, otherwise the Board of Commissioners has discretion to approving the subject agreements notwithstanding the suggested revisions. To this end, so I'll send you that, but he did approve the one where in the pricing schedule it was removed. It's just on that MSA, the master one that is all encompassing to all their products, which is a portion of products that we are not gonna be partaking in. That's the network side.
Okay,
I will forward you that email.
thank you. Probably to all of us, yeah.
Yep.
And, if we can, the contract over as well with the.
Yeah, 'cause I think
with
the
dates.
date on here is 8/1 of 24 to 7/31 of 25. Maybe we can just try to get that
We
changed
need to adjust that,
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'll make a call and get that done, and
you know,
hopefully, yeah. I did do it, there was a pre-sign that we did on there before, I'll try and get that completed as well, but that might not be tomorrow, but it'll be,
If we can get those both by tomorrow morning, then we can put this through. If not,
Sure.
then we'll have to table it until next week. Don't want the dates on there all.
Sounds good.
Just, try an argument.
so thank you.
Okay. Hey, Martha.
Martha Yoder, Trumbull County Auditor. I wanted to give the commissioners an update on the McMullen Street property, which is where the Marks Tower is going, because there's been some things happening. If you'll recall that property, there's also a water tower there, a radio tower, and also the Marks Tower, ARPA project, which has begun construction.
Thank you.
So you guys can get an idea of the property. Let me pass that out. We own or the commissioners own what's in yellow there. Mr. Joseph Ray owns the property to the east, west, and south of the commissioner's property. His property to the east of the commissioner's property has an injection well on it, and you can see that it's circled there. This well was constructed in 2014 to 2015, and to my knowledge, it's never been used. As far as Mr. Danzo and I have researched as much as we can, and we have not found that it was ever actually used. There was a permit with ODNR for the construction. The Ray parcel that borders the commissioner's property is 03-001500. The injection well is on that parcel. That parcel was the subject of a lawsuit which resulted in a settlement with the Board of Commissioners and Buckeye Trophy Whitetails Deer Farm LLC, where the property was sold to the LLC for $44,000. As part of the settlement, the commissioners retained one half of the mineral rights. In 2018, the parcel transferred from the LLC to Mr. Ray, who was a principal of that LLC. Earlier this year, Select Water Systems purchased the well from the company who constructed it and has a lease on the parcel with Mr. Ray in order to operate the injection well. You might remember that I addressed this with the board at the end of June when the Brookfield trustee came to speak about this. At that time, we had concerns about potential issues with both the Marks Tower and the water tower. Gary Newbrow has been investigating the water tower issues. I have been waiting on an answer from Dick Miller from the state about the Marks Tower. In the meantime, both Select Water Systems and Mr. Ray have become aggressive, for lack of a better word. Last week on Monday, we received an email from Select Water Systems that seemed to imply that Ohio Edison would be staking pole locations on the commissioner's property. This concerned both myself and Mr. Misaki. Since Mr. Danzo, who had been dealing with this with me, was out of town, I spoke with Mr. Toth and Ms. Monroe from the prosecutor's office. Mr. Toth and I made a phone call to Select Water Systems representative who had been dealing with Mr. Misaki. Mr. Toth informed him that we still had not received any actual formal request for an easement and delineated what would be needed for the commissioners to even entertain that request. At the end of the call, we were cut off, but Mr. Toth had given him all the information that he needed. On Wednesday, both Mr. Misaki and myself were called by the Select Water Systems representative several times asking about the information. Mr. Misaki had Mr. Toth compose an answer reiterating what he had said on the call, and that was sent at the end of the day Wednesday. Also on Wednesday, Bill Hart and my deputy, Tim Hannaford, went out to the property to meet with Dick Miller from DAS about the tower, and also there were some other adjacent issues that they were discussing. While they were there, Mr. Ray, on the commissioner's property, approached them. In conversation with them, the subject of the use of the access road, and you'll see the access road is, there's the bend in the McMullen Street, and then as it bends down, there's an access road that comes in. In the conversation, the use of the access road and an easement was brought up. Mr. Ray stated in that conversation that he doesn't really need an easement because he can buy the access road for $1 per the purchase contract. Just to let you know, there was a meeting scheduled today, which didn't happen because of Ohio Edison. As you know, there's been a lot of power outages. They're still kind of working through that. So they actually ended up not showing up. Bill Hart, Ohio Edison was supposed to be there. I sent Deputy Hannaford as well, because we wanted to make sure that the meeting was to discuss the power connection needed for the Marks Tower. Specifically, they're looking at the possibility of running things underground. Mr. Ray actually invited himself to that meeting, and so I was really concerned about that. So I sent Deputy Hannaford to make it clear to the Ohio Edison representative that neither Mr. Ray or Select Water Systems have any easement on the commissioner's property, nor do we have, at this point, a formal request for one. Additionally, he was to make clear that neither Mr. Ray or Select Water has any legal connection with the county that would allow them to piggyback on the power connection, because that was the purpose of him trying to crash the meeting. Meeting did not happen. We're gonna follow up and find out what's going on. I still think, personally, I think it's important that we have someone there explaining that. Bill is great, but that's not what he does. So I felt that, Deputy Hannaford would be the best person. On Friday, Bill Hart made me aware that Select Water Systems utilized the access road to have concrete poured on the Ray property. I spoke with Dick Miller from DAS last night to find out how much Select Water Systems is actually in the way there, because they're there every day, so they know what's going on, and actually trespassing. They're utilizing the access road on the commissioner's property like they have permission. I also spoke with the contractor at the same time. We were all on the line together. And Mr. Miller at that time made it clear to him that Mr. Ray and the Select Water Systems have no legal authorization to be on that property. Neither Mr. Danzo or I have found any easement granted to Mr. Ray or the LLC that preceded in ownership. In fact, actually, the purchase agreement, which I have with me for you, actually retains, the county commissioners, the sanitary engineer, and the Trumbull County engineer actually retain easements on the parcel that was sold. So we actually have easements on his property. Additionally, there's nothing in the agreement that is actually part of the settlement, that says anything about purchasing the access road for $1. By the way, Mr. Hannaford did have those copies just in case we need them today. While we need to deal with the injection well itself very soon, I think it's really important that we get a stop on the trespassing, on the property and on the access road. There's liability when for anyone, allowing someone else to be on their property, and we know that there's trespassing going on. That creates a liability, and we don't need that liability. Additionally, as progress continues on the Marks Tower, there's expensive equipment there. There's things that we don't want people being able to get into and touch. We don't know if there's gonna be any damage done, any spillage once they get started on things. We do not want to keep that going. So, I'm gonna let Mr. Danzo take it from here to talk about legal options and ideas.
Bill Danso from the prosecutor's office. I mean, ultimately, you know, this property is owned by the board, so the board, you know, really is in the position to decide how to handle this. You know, there's a number of ways, I think, that for the, the first decision is, does the board want to entertain allowing another party to use and go on the property? If not, then I think that we, start off by having a letter sent to the company, and the owner of the parcel saying, hey, this is county-owned, commissioner-owned property, and, we're not gonna allow it to be used by any adjoining landowners or anybody else. That sort of puts them on notice that any future, incursion over the land, so to speak, would perhaps be trespassing. The other option is, or maybe in conjunction, if there's a gate or a chain that can be placed across to kind of even further show that, hey, that this is meant to be private property here.
I just want to interject, Martha, you're Trumbull County Auditor. Initially, there had been a gate so if you see McMullen Street, there's 7 on this side of it. There had been a gate there, even though that is a county road and a public road, there had been a gate with, a lock on it, and I think you guys actually cut that off, which is fine, and really honestly, I know that there's because it's kind of a dead end there, technically a dead end, it's fine, I guess, for the gate to have been there, but you guys need it open to be able to get to it. So does the Spielman, who's doing the contractor for the Marks Tower. I would suggest if we do a gate, that we do it right at the property, where the access road turns, and that we work out so that there's access for sanitary as well as for the contractor, anybody who needs it for that. But I actually think the gate is great, along with what we just talked about.
Maybe in a different location.
Yeah, in a different location, just because technically that gate was on a public highway.
Right.
There was a gate just put back up there last month,
Okay.
because he had his bulldozer stolen from there, Mr. Ray did, and they caught the people that stole the bulldozer. Brookfield Police ended up doing an investigation, I think they found it in West Virginia or something, but there's already theft on the property, and we have equipment that's there also.
Right,
So that's
so
why I
I
asked to put the gate back up with
Right.
Brookfield Police. They have a key to prevent people from getting in there to steal not only our property, but his property.
but I think the better place to put that gate, quite frankly, I don't give a rat's behind about Mr. Ray's property right now.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah, I mean.
If he wants a road, I'll tell you what I told Mr. Miller last night, if he wants a road, he can build his own darn road.
I mean, there's no easements that we have in our possession, that we can see.
Not that I'm aware
There's
of.
no access to that road. I think we need both measures. I think we need the gate, and I think we need to send them a cease and desist, or something along those lines of whatever.
And
to stop.
if that's the board's decision, that's fine. I just, obviously, with the board being the owner of the property for the
Right.
county, it has to come from you guys, or the
That's,
order has to come from you.
that's what I'm in favor of.
So.
Anything outlined in yellow is what we have.
Yeah, we just want a little sliver of his property. I don't wanna cut him off from this whole property here. I don't think that's
But-
right.
He can,
I mean, he has a right to have a business here in the county. If
he
you don't like it,
and he
we're not-
can access his property. He can access his property.
From which way?
On the western side, he can build his own road and get in there. He owns a ton of property. He can build his own driveway.
Right, but he still has to come through our property one way or
No, he
another,
won't.
so we're up the
No, he
middle.
won't.
No, that's directly to.
First of all, Commissioner, he owns over here.
Right,
He can access here.
and then have to cut through our
No,
property, go all the way around the
he can
property.
go all the way around.
That doesn't make sense. We wouldn't do that to any other citizen to do that. We wouldn't. So I'm not gonna pick on this guy to not go all the way, to make him go all the way around the property when he's asking for an easement just to cross a roadway.
To have an injection.
Okay, I'm pro injection well.
Oh, wow.
You must be against injection well. I am for
I'm concerned.
use of natural resources in the county, if that's what business
I am
is.
concerned about our property and our Marks Tower and the water tower. I'm concerned about the seismic activity.
That's your opinion, no, not respectfully.
All right.
I tend to agree with Auditor Yoder, and, I don't know if I've made my, I think that we need to send the letter, immediately, and I think we need a gate up immediately. my opinion. We can discuss it further at the commissioners' meeting, but,
I guess, yeah, there's a differing of opinion here. I'm pro exploration of natural resources. I know injection wells, although ugly, are part of, American production of energy, and oil and gas exploration in every other county south of us has made not only the landowners, but the counties millions and millions and millions of dollars. We missed out on the energy boom up here with fracking because of the population what we have, but we know we have the resources down there. And if there's a chance for our people up here to make money, whether it be a pipeline up Route 11, moving gas and oil to Lake Erie, or whether it be, businesses that are making money off the oil and gas industry, I'm in favor of it. We've had talks in this room about, are we gonna ban solar energy, are we gonna ban wind turbines? We just had some of the planning commission today with zoning about wind turbines. Now we're looking at, you know, you gotta get energy from somewhere. And right now, oil and gas is working for a lot of areas to make the guy go around something, which he's probably gonna do anyway, just to be a stickler, not wanting him to cross a road or share a roadway that's there. If it doesn't impede what we're gonna do, like you said, very easily, yeah, he can build his own road, which I'm probably sure he probably will do, and still have his business there. So why create a neighbor war when I know for years with this property, and I've had talks with the landowner about our equipment that's stored there, theft of fire hydrants potentially that could have been there, that we've taken from the county, we've stored on this facility, and people scrapping them and taking them, that, you know, there's copper and things inside a fire hydrant. He watches over our property more than we do there, and he's reported things there when he's seen gates open, when he's had theft of his own property, and called right away and said, go have your guys, go check your property, someone stole a bulldozer last night, see if they got anything of yours. So, in that instance, he's been a good neighbor, and I think we need to be good neighbors with our properties out there. Of course, we need to be concerned with the Marks Tower and our water tower, but if he's gonna do something like this anyway, let's work to be a good neighbor, is my opinion.
I don't think that trespassing
an
is being a
industry.
good neighbor. Let's get that clear, and that's what he's doing.
Cutting across
So-
the roadway,
And-
in
So-
each zone.
But he doesn't, and
He
to
never
bend over
owned-
backwards for
he
somebody
never
who was
owned it.
doing that
No.
is not wise
He
use
sold the
of
property
tax
percentage
dollars,
of it.
period.
No, the federal government gave us that property. We sold him the property surrounding it.
Okay?
He's not ever owned that road.
Okay.
There has never been an ownership there. I mean, it's obviously, it's up to the commissioners, the whole board, to determine what they wanna do. But the reality is, that is not a good thing we're putting a $1.5 million investment there.
Not to mention a
Risking-
school within a few miles.
Risking that investment. The neighbors, you talk about being a good neighbor, the neighbors are not crazy about this. Brookfield Township trustee, Mr. Suttles, came in here and explained that. It's close to a school. Fine. Injection well, other place.
I don't think that's gonna stop it, though. Look at, I mean, when you said right here, that's not gonna stop it. A roadway's not gonna stop putting in something that's gonna generate that kind of money. We're fools if we think, oh, we could put a gate here and stop him, he's not gonna go around the gate, or still find an access way to get into his property. I think it's gonna happen. That's up for another body to decide whether he can have that type of business or not in there, not for us to block him off, because we don't like that type of business. That's something, if the local,
It's not even just about that, it's also about the liability.
Our property.
Currently trespassing on, that creates a liability. If something happens to him and you allow him to trespass, we're liable for that.
so are we liable because someone came down our road and stole his bulldozer from one of these buildings?
No.
We
No
didn't know
different
they
than
were,
any other
we
property.
didn't know they were
That would be
trespassing,
Brookfield
we know he's trespassing.
Where's the tower going, Martha?
I'm not sure off the top of my head. I think it's in
Here,
this
that's
place,
what I was
right?
thinking,
Yeah, I think it's in
okay.
that place.
And this is the only access entry right now?
Looks like it's
Right.
for us.
He,
This too, or just this?
I haven't been out there,
Okay,
so this is where people are coming
Without
right
the
now.
well.
right here.
Right, yeah.
Right.
That, I believe, that's access just for the drives that are around the, water tower are just, that's where you guys access the water tower.
Right.
Right.
Just sanitary for here.
Mm-hmm.
Where was the gate prior?
Right here.
And who moved the gate? Sanitary.
I don't,
Well,
who,
we used to have interlocking locks down there. I think we had
Right.
one, Mr. Ray had one, you put them together like
Right.
this, so
They
he can
just
get
changed.
in, we can get in, yeah.
and I don't have a, you know, leaving this open is fine, and he can access, he has access to his property. Also, by the way, he also has access, I don't have that in me, he owns all of this as well, and he has access from the south, so he could do a straight shot from the road to the south.
Well, the other thing I would say, just Bill Danso from the prosecutor's office, just from a liability perspective, if the decision of the board is that, you know, you wanna allow this kind of thing, there's always a way we could do a lease, or, you know, an easement would be a little more permanent, but you could do something like that at a rate that would also maybe require him to carry insurance, maybe, and while we can't indemnify other parties, we can have them indemnify us. There could be maybe something like that, for example. That would be up to the board also.
Something to consider.
From a liability perspective, Alex Stevens, Jonesy Bush, I don't know enough about the situation, but I have to say I tend to agree with Bill. If whatever your decision may be, whether it's, you know, to put something up, to not put something up, I'm not gonna say whether I agree with that or disagree with that, that's not my decision. But I will tell you that if your decision is to not put something up, I do feel like that we do need to do something from a liability perspective. In the same situation that we're in with the, I hate to keep bringing this up, the parking, it's the same situation. If we're allowing people, or we're going to be utilizing a property, or going to be allowing people to utilize a property, we have to make sure that our assets are covered, that our risk management is covered, and that anything that can happen is, we try. We can never avoid all liability. I've learned that the hard way. There's no way that we can avoid all liability, but we do need to try to minimize that.
I haven't heard from Commissioner Frenchco in quite some time, but she texts me and says she'd like to be unmuted.
Oh, yeah. Look at you two, no, I'm kidding, I'm kidding.
Okay, Commissioner, if you wanna star six yourself,
With you.
we'll give you your fair time on this.
Hello.
Hello?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, you can bring it up tomorrow at the meeting if you like, but this is something that's, well, I understand Denny's perspective. It doesn't matter because it's the commissioner's property, and we have to make sure that nothing happens. If this guy injures himself on our road, well, we know that he's there now. Before we didn't know. Now we know it's a liability. So it's about minimizing risk. He can still do what he wants to do in other methods, and we've invested so much on that at that location. It's just, you know, whether or not you agree or disagree with what's going on there, there is an implication where sometimes there's seismic activity, and we don't want anything to happen to our tower. If they find another way to do it, then that's within their right to do that, but we shouldn't be facilitating that.
The other,
That's just my 2 cents. I just wanted to put it out there, and then if we want to talk about it tomorrow to make a final decision, because what I say relative to decision-making doesn't count. When I call in, I'm just like a member of the public, but, that's what my position will be, tomorrow, to move forward with a letter for, to that individual, so, that's all.
Marcia, Trumbull County Auditor, I focused on the access road, but there is also the power part of this and trying to piggyback onto our power, and I don't necessarily think, again, facilitating it is the right way to go, and, you know, he probably will still do it, or he will try to do it, and that, hopefully by then, we also have more information about what can happen with the water tower, and what can happen with the Marks Tower, and we have a case in some way to prevent this.
Just, everyone just rewind to 2014, 2015, I should say, when, there was a spill and it was a scare in Vienna Township. And just imagine if that happens with all this infrastructure and everything we have here, near a school, just the panic of that, and getting the state involved and, having to recap the, it was an ordeal. And, I don't want anything to do with, jeopardizing our infrastructure or putting this anywhere near a school.
My big fear with this is the difference between facilitate, which I agree, we shouldn't facilitate, but at the same sense, we shouldn't discriminate either. And I've heard some comments just through this about what the type of business is, we're judging what the type of business is, we're judging who the person is.
I don't know.
You know,
I don't know.
I just don't, I wanna make sure we don't go in that direction. Would we do this with any other person in the county, any other type of business? Do we have any other easements off of our property? Do we have anyone else that we allow to cross our property or utilize our property, which creates a risk on any of our properties, even our parking lot back here on a Sunday, things like that? Do we gate it on weekends so we don't have a problem? Do we, I just don't wanna give you in a position where
It's public.
we look like in any way we're discriminating against an individual type of a business in the county that's a tax-paying business, big landowner, that does own property, that does pay his taxes. Yeah, I wanna make sure we're non-discriminatory in what we do.
Martha Yoder, Trumbull County Auditor. One of the things that Mr. Masaki brought up to me is that there was a request for an easement in the past that was denied because of liability issues, and maybe you can research that we denied. He referenced you, but we would wanna research that so folks would understand. It's not like, oh, we can just allow it. And as to whether yes, absolutely, the business matters to me personally. I've expressed that because I'm concerned about our property, the investments that we have out there. I want to protect this county and our investments, and that's my job. But the other part of that, besides what he's doing, right, is, would I say that in any other situation? Absolutely, because of the liability of him coming on our property in general. If somebody was coming on my property I love my Amish neighbors, but if somebody's coming on my property and I don't wanna get sued, even the Amish don't usually sue, I would still do it, because I wanna protect I don't wanna have liability. I don't wanna be responsible for somebody who gets hurt. I don't wanna be responsible for that. And as a county, again, protecting our county and our assets, we have to do that, regardless of the business.
One more thing, Bill Danso from the prosecutor's office, just one more thing on the liability potential is, obviously, I can look to see if there's been a request for an easement in the past.
Not on this, and something else. I'll ask Mr. Masaki to reference it.
Yeah, we've had other requests for things like this on other properties in the past, and that's what I was just gonna say. There are, just to be sure everybody's on the same page here, there are, like with anything with the board, legal requirements for how you lease property, who you can lease it to, who you can grant easements to. So obviously, when I say that, I'm kind of just saying in broad strokes, we can explore this. To actually finalize one, it would have to go through the legal review, obviously, to make sure that we have the correct authority to do whatever it is that the board is ultimately.
We're not even sure of that yet.
Yeah, like I said, I know that we've explored easements in the past. I know that we've leased county property in the past that's been unused, or that can be leased without interfering with our use, let's put it that way. So again, we can look at any of those things once the board kind of finalizes what it wants to explore.
Here.
Gary Newbrow, sanitary engineer. I just wanna say that, I don't know, it's somewhere between 10 and 20 years ago, I can't remember when, I was at my house in Niles. My whole house shook. and I thought a car actually hit my house.
Yep.
I'm like saying, what could that have been, you know, it was so, you know, impactful there. I go out in front yard, what happened here? That well down on 169, that's a mile and a half away from my house. And it shook my entire house where I thought somebody, actually a vehicle slammed into the front of my house.
Yep.
And that being that close to that water tower, that's my concern. I don't, you know, as far as personal opinions, fracking, getting that natural gas out of the ground, I'm all for that. I mean, this country could be the Saudi Arabia natural gas. It's that the state's way of injecting this stuff back into the ground.
Gotta be a different
To
way.
me, there's gotta be a better way than this, and it's, you know, causing seismic activity like that, that's something that's, there has to be a better way, and I think.
And we had a better way of a guy that could treat the water, clean the water, and give it back out, and we banned him.
Yeah, that's the solution to
Right.
this whole mess.
And the city banned them.
Yeah.
And so what are these people supposed to do? We can't have one without the other. Can't say we like American energy, we don't wanna buy from the Saudis and Middle East, but you can't do this on our property. It's counterproductive. It's gotta be one way or another.
But him
or
locating
look for
one this close to a water tower,
Mark?
well, the water tower and the Marks Tower. The water tower, I think, is, well, both of them would be in danger of
Right, well,
seismic activity
it's our,
out there.
and it's the, Martha, Trumbull County Auditor, it's the investment that we have with our ARPA funds in this tower. It's also, we're doing that for the public safety. If we jeopardize that investment, then we lose the safety aspect that we've gained from it.
Additionally, Casey, Donna, 911 director, if the Marks Tower is going there, which obviously
Yes.
it is, any shift in those antennas, microwaves,
Right,
they can knock out your entire radio system.
right.
In Huron County, we had a severe wind event that shifted, it cost us $12,000 to have timers go up just to readjust them, that they got off, you know, a few inches. So that is an issue too.
We're making that investment to improve public safety. It's a huge investment to improve public safety, and then we can jeopardize it by.
Agreed.
I have a question about that then, and I'm sorry, I'm just gonna ask Alex Stephen Jency Bush. So if that's the case, again, if we're putting the Marks Tower here, we still can't stop him though from finding another way to do what he could potentially be doing. That brings up a bigger issue is what I'm saying. So
Sure, and
we know the Marks Tower is going there.
Well, and
So-
Martha, you're Trumbull County Auditor, and that's part of what we were trying to collect more information, to see if we would have a way to prevent it in another, if the commissioners would want to do that.
Okay,
At
I see
this-
what you're saying.
All right,
So-
at this point, though, the trespass concerns me. Having someone utilize county property as if it's their own.
Yeah, no, I think
and
you and I are on the
permit
same page there,
liability,
and
right.
I think I've made it very clear where I stand with this whole parking. We have to do things the correct way.
Absolutely.
That's all I'm gonna say.
And-
Whatever way, it has to be correct. We have to make sure that we try to minimize liability, and we have to either he needs to enter into a lease to use that property, or set that, whatever the case may be. But I do think the commissioners really need to sit down collectively tomorrow and explore what you want to do, because this could be something that could be, it could be liability. It is liability. It is liability.
What I would like is for it to not be there, for me, first of all, for various reasons that I mentioned. But if it is there, I think the property owner needs to do whatever he needs to do. This is a very lucrative business. They wanna put in a road, they put in a road. No different than any other
Right.
investment that they're making in property, period.
And I would just say, Bill Danso, I guess this is my final thing now.
Sorry, Bill.
I guess what I would say is just that, you know, I think you guys are hitting on it too, but just to be clear, you know, there are sort of two things here. There's the liability and the property rights that the board has in its property, but then there's the general permitting and safety of injection wells. And that's a matter, as we're all well aware here in Trumbull County,
we have
is
no
totally in the hands of the state. So,
Unfortunately.
you know, when it comes down to the specific business, location of the well, permitting of the well, all that kind of stuff, obviously, anybody can file, you know, their concerns with the state, but the state's the one who decides that kind of stuff.
Yep.
So, just, more for the sake of, I guess, anybody listening in, that's why there is really a division of those two issues at some point there.
And that's what we need to divide it too, us as commissioners, that all we can do is control access on a road with a gate, and like I said, it doesn't stop his business at all. We're not taking a stance one way or another about that, that's not our jurisdiction, that's another body's thing to deal with, so I wanna make sure that's where, we don't wanna get into discriminate against whatever the business is that has nothing to do with us, with what they do, we need to keep it narrowed, focused to the point at hand of being, and like we would with any other property we own, being a good neighbor, not being a good neighbor, as far as use of our property or easements that we would normally have with any other entity. Because we do dangerous things on some of our property. We go hunting on some of our property, and no one's complaining about that, that there are things that we do, people will ride bikes, which is a liability. There are people that do a lot of activities that utilize our facilities that create risk and liability. I do understand, yeah, there is a thing, the radio tower thing has a lot of credence if there is a shift or whatever, but like Gary said, he's a mile and a half away and his house shook. He can move this thing a mile and a half away and still affect our radio tower and our water tower. Actually, maybe even more so, because as waves radiate out, sometimes it gets more and more powerful away from the epicenter of what it is. So, there are studies that show that, so we've got to keep the issue separate here with this thing. And like I said, my stance is regarding a neighbor and someone that's been a good neighbor to our property, that's been a watchdog of our property, that's got to have some consideration.
We haven't even gotten to our agenda yet.
Right.
Commissioners, Martha, you're Trumbull County Auditor, then I will plan on bringing this, Mr. Danzo and I will, at the end of the meeting tomorrow. Thank you.
Okay, we'll get, run through some of this regular agenda, luckily it's small. Dispense with the reading of workshop minutes, approve the bills, transfer monies, auditor and sanitary engineer.
So the auditor one is $279, Martha, you're Trumbull County Auditor, $279 to fix the first and second quarter interest posted in a grant fund. It's just to make an adjustment. I'll let, beautiful Bob, handle his.
Bob Myrano, sanitary engineers. The $24,887 is a transfer to pay interest and pay down our note for the blueprint.
Okay, the next, I'll go.
Approve additional appropriations.
Yes, approve additional appropriations. Board of Health is, the first one is the fiscal year 25 homeless youth grant, second one is fiscal year 25 community health grant, health worker grant, domestic relations and juvenile court is court fees. Planning Commission is to add HSTS participants. Senior Levy Commission, Senior Levy Council is a revised grant award. I'll move on to number 5, transfer of appropriations. Central Court is needed for acting judges. Community health, mental health is for additional computer services. Highway is OPWC loans. The second one for highway is needed for building repairs, and go ahead, Bob, do the other two.
The first sanitary engineers is to remove a negative balance in the appropriation, and the second one is to repair our sewer TV truck.
Okay, number 6, hauling permit, Southern Pines Trucking. Number 7, Social Animal Supplier Fleet Permit, Bristol Disposal, Duke Sanitary. Right-of-way permit, Cheryl Baker, Levi Iker, ASW Pipeline, Daniel Fry, and Enbridge Gas, Ohio. We've already done number 9, with Casey. Number 10, place on file the monthly activities for the dog kennel. Number 11, ARPA funds Eastgate, and this is the $1.5 million for broadband.
Yes.
And this is gonna be, handled by Eastgate Regional Council of Governments. I learned today, our link over there was, Steve Christian. He took a job elsewhere, and they have a new, broadband coordinator, new person, that they're bringing in. Remember the name? it was a firm of some sort or whatever, I think they brought
Yeah.
up with it. But we'll have more
A
details on that.
consulting firm, yeah, I don't remember, I think it was 3 different firms actually that they were bringing in to do the work.
Okay. Number 12 is, goes along with the ARPA grant. Number 13, ARPA grant, again, this is for, a one-time grant in Hubbard to purchase 2 diesel generators and diesel tanks, $435,610. Is that what we said we were gonna do, or did we say we'd do
Oh,
one?
wait a second. It was supposed to
Generator.
be $300,000.
Yeah.
I thought I had fixed it.
It says
and
300,000.
It says it, but I
Oh.
didn't fix it twice.
Yeah,
So-
on the front page, it
Oh.
says 435.
So,
Right.
okay, wait.
So we're doing
Yeah.
300,000.
Yeah, we'll correct that. I'll make sure we get it corrected. I apologize for that.
Number 14 goes along with that. And we'll also ask, I guess we can have the mayor be here tomorrow, and I don't know if anyone from Eastgate will be here, but that's a pretty big deal, 1.5 million.
Yes,
We,
absolutely.
Eastgate has to be here for the kid
Bid.
meeting afterwards, so maybe we can get them to come early and receive a check. And, Sheriff, if you're listening, I know we got a couple of those big checks we had, let's, prep one for each. Fowler Township, ARPA grant, one-time authorized Fowler Township, and this is for
Culvert.
culvert replacement, $30,000 on CAD Salk. And then the agreement to go with it.
Commissioner, this is Martha Yoder, Trumbull County Auditor. I just want to reiterate that with, both the, City of Hubbard and the, just in case there's questions, and Fowler, City of Hubbard, it's a generator, but it's a generator that falls in a different category for, I believe, wastewater. So it's different, it's not a generator
Right.
for like emergency services. The
Right.
culvert is not road work, it's drainage, so that's why it falls into it.
Very good. Number 17, award contract to lowest and best bidder for Proscape Septic and Landscaping for the HSTS, amount of $56,178. And, this is for 3 households qualify for 100% assistance, along with 6 other installers that submitted bids for all 10 HSTS replacements, including bid document process benefiting low-income households eligible for assistance. Number 18, contract lowest and best bid, 2M Services, to replace 4 home sewage treatment systems under HSTS for $62,795. And number 19, lowest and best bid, S&P Septic and Excavating, 3 home sewage treatment systems in the amount $48,100, again, out of HSTS through PY 24.
I can talk about all 3 of those.
Stand up and approach and name and who you represent.
Emily Moran, Trumbull County Planning Commission. So 17, 18, and 19, we sent out a, RFP to all the qualified licensed HSTS installers in Trumbull County. And then we had the proposals due August 1st. These were the 3 lowest and best, for those households. They're bid on an individual household basis. That's contractors.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, number 20, approve change order with Corolla Contractors for Yankee Lake Sanitary Sewer Improvement Project in the amount of $64,826, revising the total to $2,564,786. This is, an increase. Gary?
Yeah, Gary Newbrow, sanitary engineer. Commissioners, for this change order, the bulk of the cost of that first item for those 3 additional air release valves to be housed in concrete manholes. My department, we've been concerned ever since this design went in on that cross-country force main running between approximately near the ballroom down to the intersection of Yankee Run and Orangeville-Custer Road, that due to those changing elevations, that we're gonna get air pockets inside that force main. So, we asked a second, design engineering firm, Primate did the original design on it, but then we got AECom themselves, a different company, to give us a second opinion on whether or not they think we need more air relief valves. and their conclusion was that they recommended that we do install these, 3 additional valves here. The last thing we want is for this thing to be in the ground, get it started up, and then we can't move the, sewage from the pump station through that force main, as they experienced down in the village of Lordstown not long ago. So, anyway, that's the bulk of this change order. There was another change in a control valve that was also per their recommendation at the control valve manhole, to change the type of valve that we are going to utilize in there. That third part for $6,000, we found some 4-inch, storm sewer out there that was active, that was on nobody's, it was on no one's prints whatsoever when we researched this project before we started it. So we have to replace about 300 foot of it at $20 per linear foot. We did not have a unit cost on this when they bid because, we didn't know it was there. We did have 8-inch, storm sewers at unit cost from Carrilla, and he quoted us at $25 a foot to replace any 8-inch that he found. So we negotiated with him, and, he agreed that he would do the 4-inch, replacements for $20 per linear foot. And also on the last line item, foundation cushion. What that is when you dig your trench, you normally just put some bedding gravel down there and put your pipe down on top of it and it stays stable. But when you're in sloppy conditions, and that's what this is, you have to dig deeper and add in extra, gravel. And we found some sloppy conditions down there along that run, along Yankee Run Road. And so we need additional foundation cushion to stabilize that pipe. As far as financially on the project, out of all the projects I've ever built here for the county, this is the first one where we are still 100% grant funded. And I still have, after this change order, we still have an additional about $260,000 worth of cushion. Keep this 100% grant funded. So this will,
you're not asking for any money
yeah,
out of
so
county.
this will not cost the residents or the beneficiaries of this project anything.
Okay, great.
Yeah, and what I'm hoping for is this, that we haven't gone up into the village yet. I'm hoping that we don't have any unforeseen things up there either. But if we can, keep this thing under the budget, then I'll have some excess funds to help with those house connections and relieve some of that, cost onto the countywide slab.
That's where any
To connect
excess is
those,
gonna go.
yes, I'd be able to put the excess into those house connections.
Very good.
Gary, who was the initial design firm?
It was Prime AE.
How come they didn't catch any of this stuff? I mean, just,
Chuck Miller in my office, this was his project, he had concerns about that, and he debated back and forth with them during the design, sessions of this. And Prime AE was pretty much, convinced that these extra air relief valves weren't needed. But, when we moved to the construction administration end of things, we let Prime AE go because we could handle it in-house. So we had a modification for that to remove them from the project and let us take over the project, you know, after.
I mean, I don't like design-build projects, but the one good thing about design-build is you don't have these change orders.
Right.
You know,
Now, would this be something you normally run back by Prime again, and then they concur with the second opinion?
Well, we just went with the second opinion here and got, AECom. And we have a little more trust in AECom's, opinion on this.
Okay. Number 21, approve Trumbull County Capital Improvement Program for the 39th round of funding for the State Capital Improvement Program, and the 37th round of funding for the Local Transportation Improvement Program, program year 2026. Submit the program pre-application to the District 6 Public Works Integration Committee on or before August 29th. And this is, Warren Sharon Road, Bridge Rehab, Crane Drive, sewer improvement, and West Market Bridge rehabilitation.
Hi, Gary Newbrow, sanitary engineer. I got in touch with, Gary Schaefer and Dave Spay over at, Highway Engineers, and these are our 3 projects to submit to OPWC for this round. I already discussed this with you at an earlier meeting, that second one for the sanitary engineers, that we are going to send last year's grant back. It was $750,000, and this is our $1.5 million request for this round.
Martha, you're the Trumbull County Auditor, I think you have a typo there.
Or
Should be 30, I think you went 39th, and then, not 30 months.
What's that?
It
At
says
the top
30
one.
month and then 39th next to it,
Shouldn't it say
Oh,
39th,
39th.
ninth instead of month?
and then it says 37.
Oh, okay, I see, yeah, that month,
See that?
okay. You see that, Lisa?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it'll be 30, or 39.
Oh, 39th round, yeah, not
Right.
30 month. I don't know where that word month came in there.
Something might have
Might have been
auto-corrected
an
weird or
autocorrect,
something.
I think that's what it was.
Okay. 22, to amend agenda item dated June 28, 2024, item number 17, JV 158, where the lowest responsive and responsible bid is submitted by Shelley and Sands for the TRU Larchmont Avenue project in the amount of $1,015,820, to be paid with an 80% STBG grant received through Eastgate Regional Council of Government, which will be direct pay with 20% local match to be paid from Engineers Highway Fund. And enter a contract with Shelley and Sands for said project. Amendments necessary to update the project payment to reflect the 80% will remain paid by an STBG grant received through Eastgate Regional Council of Governments, which will be direct pay. Local share is changed to $187,500, which is recently received by the County Engineers Department for this project, and is a direct pay for the remaining balance of $15,000. And this is, resurfacing a Larchmont and Allen Bezetta Township between City Warren and Perkins Jones Road, in addition to bridge repairs and guardrail replacement. That'll look good and leading to the new property there, on Perkins Jones. Okay, that concludes the regularly scheduled business. Okay, Martha, we'll go to your ARPA update,
Thank you.
then we have a presentation from CCAO.
Just very quickly, eligible, ineligible, and other updates. As you know, the Eastgate Broadband, Fowler Township, City of Hubbard generator on the agenda. Per the workshop last week, I moved the USS Oklahoma RIP to the maybe sheet due to non-responsiveness. I did not move Kyler Foundation, which is Colberg Lake Dam Study, because she did check and find something more from him that she'd missed. She's reviewing that. Still pending with Attorney Rogers, our Family and Community Services scope, Howland Township, and Hubbard City. Number 2, Bezetta, the county engineer, the prosecutor's office, and Attorney Rogers are working together on the agreement as well as any waiver which might be needed. We also do need to do a resolution of the commitment of ARPA funds in order for, because they're kind of cobbling this together for the OPWC funding. I have sort of a draft, but we decided since Attorney Rogers is not around until Wednesday, that it would be best to wait to put it on next week after she's had a chance to review that. You're given the updated yes sheet and the bottom line spreadsheet. That's it.
Okay, can we move a couple more up to her since she's only got 3 pending?
If you would like to do that, that would be fine.
What's next on the list?
So if you go to the second page of your spreadsheet, Community Family Outreach, this is the additional request. If you'll remember, we did an award for them previous, and part of it was ruled ineligible. You froze the amount of that, and then, he resubmitted for, the kitchen hood and design of the canopy. Bloomfield Township, their ambulance, Eagle Joint Fire District is ambulance, Howland Township's an ambulance. These are all we have left, these 7 on this list. Hubbard Township's emergency generators, Southington Township Fire Ambulance, and Gustavus Township surveying the cemetery.
Okay, I'd like to move all those up to her.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
I'll be
might
glad
as well.
to do that. Thank you.
That way we get some answers, then we can move on to the maybe list and
Great.
Yes.
other requests, see where we stand at
Sure.
that point.
Thank you.
Thank you, Martha. Okay, Mr. Valesky,
Yes,
I see you're here, if you wanna approach so we can hear you on the recording. Last week when he was here, we talked about the parking. We gave a week to try to find out some information. I know we've got some information back, if you can give us an update of what we heard from Corsa, Alice?
I have nothing. He just submitted some stuff to us yesterday afternoon. I've been in and out of contract negotiations, so it's just gonna take time. I am bowing out at this point, I'm gonna be honest with you. So I have nothing to do when it comes to the lease. That's all between you and the commissioners.
Right.
So he has provided us some type of insurance. I have sent that over. That's my aspect.
So Corsa, did they give any reply back at all over the last week?
Not yet,
We talked to them? Okay,
Because they're waiting on a lease.
and we did talk to him last week after,
So-
well, what the clause was, that
The
was
lease
left there,
has to
which
be
you changed.
specific as to who's gonna cover what, then I can entertain that next half. I have not even looked at what you said on my desk, nor am I qualified to look at it. I am not the person who entertains leases.
So, we have insurance, we've always had insurance, it's not, thing that we're concerned about is that you have insurance. You're gonna do business on our property.
Right.
We wanna make sure that you have insurance.
Sure.
And that we're named on that insurance.
Yeah, that would be the next step, but we're not there yet. You just set stuff on my, again, we just got stuff yesterday,
Okay,
but what I'm telling you as commissioners right now is I have not even looked at it, but that is not my job.
Right.
Again, I am.
but that'll be forwarded to Corsa?
No,
Or be forwarded to
absolutely not.
the?
This has nothing to do with Corsa. Please
Okay.
take Corsa out of this at this
Okay.
point. I need to be very clear. Please take Corsa out of this, because we're making waves with them, and I don't wanna do that either. So,
Okay.
let me be clear to the Tribune and everybody here, Corsa is out right now until we do our part, qualify the bid, make sure the lease says what it needs to say. At that point, I will send it to Corsa to add on, whatever additional secondary insurance, whatever we need to
So
look
what you
at.
got from him goes to the prosecutor then,
Correct.
Okay.
That's correct. But I just got that set on my desk, I believe last night while I was in contract negotiations, correct? Did you drop that off yesterday, Mr. Valesky?
I dropped some additional things
Okay.
for clarification,
Okay.
Yes.
okay? Of course, everything would, final lease agreement, everything would be, there would be definitive answer on all these things.
Yeah, but that is, I just need everybody to understand that is not in Alex's or HR's hands. That has nothing to do with me whatsoever. That needs a legal review from our prosecutor's office, and I will absolutely, I will help get that set up with them. I'll work with Mr. Danzo to hand that off to him. But again, that has nothing to do with Corsa or myself. I just wanna make sure I'm perfectly clear.
Well, I'm just going by what we had last week. Your job last week was to clarify that.
He
My
had
job
some-
was to contact him
Yeah.
about that, and I think
There was
we
still
did
some
that.
additional questions about insurance, not necessarily
Correct.
Corsa,
Correct.
insurance. He answered those questions, that part's done. But again, this is government, it's gotta go through other aspects now,
Right.
okay?
So now prosecutor will look at it, see if it's a qualifying bid, and if it's a qualifying bid that he deems legal according to what we posted, then it can come to,
It
Board
may or may
question.
not, there may still be additional questions. I can't tell you, I know that you guys want a definitive answer, but that's not how this process works, I'm sorry.
no, I understand. But before we can vote on or do anything with it, we
You
gotta
need a
make
lease.
sure it's a qualifying
Yeah,
bid,
yeah.
a legal one, according to our
Right.
posting. Okay. That makes sense, huh? Sound good? Makes sense to you?
No, but that's okay.
Well, if we just got it yesterday, you gotta understand, if we just got it yesterday, we gotta give the prosecutor time to look at it
It's
to
been
make
going
sure,
on since last October.
right?
I mean,
I understand, but with the bid process, as we spoke last week, you understood what the word
but the bid
was,
process is defined in the Ohio Revised Code,
correct?
okay? You've got a defined amount of time to make up your mind, yes or no.
Right,
That's in your part.
but it's gotta be a qualifying bid, and in our posting, it stated on here about the insurance part of it, but then your wording in there was unclear whether it showed whether you had insurance or not. Well, that's what you clarified now, so now the prosecutor can look at it and say, yep, that's a qualifying bid, and then we can act on it. Until we get to that point, we can't give a bid to someone if it may not be exactly what we were asking for in the bid.
Okay. Well, I'm not gonna debate that here. I mean, we're not a contractor doing business on your property.
Correct,
You're wanting, so, and that's the terminology that was used in your bid specs. You wanna rent or lease our property and do business on our property. You need to provide us with insurance that, frees us from any, liability that you would incur while doing business on our property. That's all. I mean, that's very simple. It's defined in the Ohio Revised Code. It's there. And You know, I'm trying to be a good neighbor, but time's running out.
Understand?
So if we don't come to a resolve soon, we're gonna pull it off the table.
I'm sure the prosecutor's gonna look at it if he got it from Alex and give us an answer back that, yep, you guys can act on this, or you can't.
You know, I've wasted,
And then we'll be able to answer
all
your
due
question.
respect, I've wasted enough time.
Understand?
Commissioner, we also have Mr. Allen here. Mr. Allen brought up, an issue at the last workshop where you were, you stepped in a little bit later.
Right.
And you missed it. But he brought an issue in about getting a prosecutor's opinion for his scenario, and he can go over that, I think, if need be, today. But, I know Gary's been abreast of it. We need 2 commissioners to send that down to the prosecutor's office, so, you know, I think it's a legal matter at this point. And we need to get guidance from the prosecutor's office as to how we proceed. And, I talked to Gary about that, and I'm hoping you'd agree or listen.
Well, I need to be brought up to speed on what the
Okay.
issue is. I mean, we talked briefly afterwards.
Okay, then Mr. Allen can go over this
Okay.
one more time. I'm sorry.
James Allen, president of Allen Land Group. I received a letter from Gary Newbrow's office saying that we were delinquent on a water bill. That they made a mistake, they underbilled us for 12 or 15 months, whatever it is. But here it is, we paid our bill faithfully every month from the day we got water. And we don't feel that this is right. Gary's legal staff has, sent us a letter saying that it is a county mistake. It's a computer mistake. So why should a small business have to eat a mistake by another company by $16,000? It's not right, and I'm here also looking at expanding. You guys should have got, I know you guys got the register letter last week, somebody signed it. We're in the process of expanding the operation. And here it is. I have a choice as owner, president. I could go back to water on this new project. I don't really want to, but we need to move forward. I need to move forward and know what I'm gonna do as a business owner to expand this operation. We're planning on moving dirt the 1st of October, have new birds in the house by 1st of the year, so I just feel that it's not right. I did brought 2 copies of the letter, since there's usually only that Gary Newbrow's office has sent to us.
I have it, but yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
But I don't know how you go delinquent when it's not us property owner's fault when it's the county.
We did,
And nobody wants to, and Gary's office don't wanna work with it, so.
we did discuss this last week. I was able to discuss with Gary as far as that part.
Okay.
Clearly, my opinion on this is 2 meters, there's a glitch somehow in how they recorded it, under-recorded the amount of usage of water that was used, to build them for what our meters told us we were supposed to build them. Am I correct on that so far?
Yeah.
So we went by what the thing is. Apparently, our, in low times, our meters didn't record low pressure, low water usage correctly, or recorded as correctly. Basically, our valves, what we buy, the property that we utilized, under-reported the amount of water that was being used, and so it was billed less. Then they figured out there's a glitch in this thing, not only with him, but they've had other instances where this thing has been faulty. And then we went back on Lander. My opinion of it was, our equipment made a mistake, our personnel, our contractor that we get the equipment from, you know, there's a glitch with this stuff we're using. I don't wanna throw it back on a customer for our mistake because we used faulty equipment or we used equipment that didn't do what we really needed it to do. There isn't really human error in this, it's more or less technical error, with the equipment. And I feel in some way, shape, or form, we need to work with the customer on this. Not that it's your fault, now you've already made your estimation into growing your business and maybe utilizing funds. $16,000 is a big amount for a small business. Yeah, did he know he was using more than that? Maybe, maybe not. He was using less water than he was before, he's using new technology. it isn't like we have a track record of 4 or 5, 10 years of these meters and water usage where he can look every year and budget that way. When I understand the water usage is somewhat new to your property.
With the city, water.
Right, somewhat new to your property, utilizing that. So we can't assume that you would see a big drop off in your bill over traditional past years with different, and with you being more water conservative with the way you're farming, the way you explained it to me. A reasonable person would think, maybe I'm just using less water with my practices at work and I'm doing it the right way. Regardless of that, I don't wanna put the whole delinquency on him and back bill him for our mistake of our equipment. And I understand that that's maybe not the right way, but again, good neighbor thing, he's a citizen, he's a taxpayer, he's a small business owner in the area, just like I would with any other business. We wanna work with people the best we can and be legal with it. That's my opinion of this thing, is that we need to figure a way somewhere in the middle of this thing. I'm not saying we just wipe the bill all the way entirely, but I think we need to work somehow that we gotta eat some of our mistakes. If I'm a private business and I screw up and I undercharge you on a suit or a widget that I sell you, and then I realize a mistake later, I'm not coming back to you and saying, hey, remember that thing, those groceries you bought for me last month, you need to pay me more because I made a mistake? We don't do that. In the private sector. In the public sector, just because we're big brother government, we can't use that as a bully tactic to charge other people for our mistakes. We have insurances, I'm sure, we have contracts with the people that we buy the equipment from. If their equipment doesn't do what we need it to do, then we need to get new equipment, in my opinion, or we need to fix the problem so it doesn't happen to the next guy, but not make the people who were the victims of the problem pay for our mistake, in a nutshell. And I do understand Gary's doing his job as department head to collect what he needs to collect and run the department efficiently, and the more money we make legally correctly, the less the bills are on other people. We don't wanna push this off on other taxpayers to pay his water bill, but at the same sense, there's a factor built into any business where there's an eat it factor, where sometimes you have to negotiate to do what's right, and maybe not what's 100% fiscally the exact thing you need to do, penny pinching wise, but you gotta do what's reasonable too, be a good neighbor.
I feel for Mr. Allen as a business owner. I think, the first step is getting the prosecutor involved and saying what we can and can't do, and I think that's gonna tell us the most.
Yeah, Gary Newbrow, sanitary engineer. I did have Matt send that information down to
Oh, okay, good. Well,
assistant prosecutor,
all right.
at the end of last week, but he was on vacation.
okay, well, he
So
should,
it's only Tuesday, he just got back yesterday, we're still waiting to get an opinion from him.
that's what they're there for, to advise us on matters like this, so.
And there's certain things that, we're required to do by law, as far as you're not allowed to just, forgive bills. There may be exceptions, but
I understand.
Let's have him look at it,
let's have legal look at it and see what we can do here.
And this is what we would do with any business owner, any reasonable citizen, any common sense. We gotta tie common sense into this somehow, of, where has government become negative and where is government positive for the community. And I think we need to be positive to promote growth. We give tax abatements, we do all kinds of things that way to promote business. This isn't anything that's gonna shut a business down, but it could hurt a business, and it could hurt an agricultural business, which usually doesn't have very many relations with county government.
And it could hurt expansion, as he mentioned, obviously, if he's gonna expand his operation, and
We're gonna get more money from water down the road if he expands his business.
all those things have to be looked at in totality, in my opinion.
So, like I said, removing the person from it again, just like with the previous issue we had with the landowner here, or Mr. Valensky, what's the good neighbor policy where we do what's best for serving the public while being a good partner, a good neighbor as government, and not being big brother government with all the negative connotations that come with that.
Hi, Gary Newbrow, sanitary engineer. One thing I did, I mistakenly mentioned that Boscos was one of the other ones that were delinquent last week. It was the Miser. It was the new Miser store where we put one of those new meters in. And they have settled theirs. They did pay the entire amount. I think it was in the neighborhood of about $50,000. And, the Southington School is about 3,000, and they paid theirs also.
Martha Yoder, Trumbull County Commissioner, I'm sorry. Gave myself a demotion. Trumbull County Auditor, about, 25 years ago, I had $5,000 mistakenly put in my account at the bank. You know, I didn't get to keep that money.
Understand that?
Yeah. Well, I think that's the next step, is to send it over to the prosecutor's office, and they'll advise the board as to how best to move forward.
And like you said, if, as commissioner, if there's middle ground here somewhere, you know, the worst case scenario, I wouldn't wanna see him charge the interest on things over time, or, you know, there's something that's gotta be a reasonable legal means where we can walk away from this thing and say, we did the right thing, but we did the legal thing both ways and understandable with both parties. Okay, now, we have a special guest here from Columbus, so, John Lutz is Executive Director.
Number two.
Number two with the County Commissioners Association of Ohio. He, had a meeting with me last month to talk about aggregation, and he wanted to be able to talk to the board legally, to talk about what's going on with other counties in the state, and
Absolutely.
give us our,
With me is Kirk Bezerk from Palmer Energy Company. Palmer Energy Company is the manager of our, utilities program. We offer, basically a pooled relationship with various counties to provide you with your utility service, electric service, and natural gas service for your facilities. We have 74 counties that are currently in the program, and, first opportunity to come over and talk to the board, collectively about our program and what we do and how we do it. We have been very fortunate to develop this program. It's a program of our service corporation, which is a subset of the County Commissioners Association, and it is designed to basically help you save, on your utility expenses. We do an RFP process. We're organized under section 9.48 of the Ohio Revised Code, which establishes cooperative purchasing programs. And as a statewide association, we are allowed to engage our members of that association, who are governmental entities, in this type of program under that section of the code. So we have been in operation now for about, 14, 15 years, Kirk?
2009.
Since 2009. And we collectively bid out the various loads for our counties, in natural gas and electricity. And the process basically is, we will identify your load issues, get good data on it, and we do an RFP process so that we solicit all of the going concerns providing electricity or natural gas, here in the state of Ohio. They have the opportunity to respond to the RFP. Palmer Energy analyzes those responses and then comes to you as the board with, those responses and a recommendation. So I think the most important thing here for you to understand is, this is your decision to make. We basically help you, have the information you need to make a thorough and an appropriate decision for your county. We have done gas for quite a while in a pooled arrangement by service territory. We are now working at moving our electric supply acquisition contracts in the same vein. So there's another opportunity to expand the pool, and of course, the more load you bring to the table, the better pricing opportunities you receive from the utility suppliers. And I think one of our strong attributes is that we have a very strong reputation in the industry, and they know that we are good clients, and the suppliers are very interested in sharpening their pencils to bring a good proposal to, our RFP process. And I think another key element, before I let Kirk answer specific details for you that you might have, is that this is a member-driven program. We have a board, that oversees our contracts and those types of things. So our member counties, commissioners are involved, and our facility managers, take an active role in making sure that this program is doing the right thing for our counties and is working for you as a member of that program.
How large is that board, and which counties are represented?
It is currently a 14-member executive committee that makes advice to us as far as managing the program and the contracts. If you are a member of the program, you are involved in the annual meeting process and have a say as a member county in the program.
So we got 63 counties right now in natural gas and 60 in electric out of the 88.
Correct. And some of the counties that, basically, it's kind of a function of the situation, but some of the counties we aren't even able to involve in the program because we can only deal with, utility services provided through a distribution utility. So if you have municipal power or something like that, we're not able to be involved in those markets, or rural electric or something like that.
Every county that touches Trumbull County is signed up with you.
Yes.
In one form or fashion, yeah.
Right.
Oh, actually, in natural
Both.
gas.
Yeah, the ones that touch us have electric and gas.
Yes. Oh, yeah, I do see that.
So if you would like to become involved with this, what we will do is Palmer Energy will sit down with your facilities people, acquire your current billing information, put together the needed data for an RFP, put it out to an RFP, get the responses back, and then we'll bring it to you to look at, and that's when it's your decision.
Yeah, the important thing for savings on this is, again, I have no idea what your size is, load-wise for the county. Currently, right now, we have a 500 million kilowatt-hour RFP out on the streets for a lot of counties. You would be in that mix, and when you're at that size of a RFP, all of a sudden, you're a really big industrial, and the suppliers really go after that work, both fiscally from a price standpoint as well as contractually. We handle all that, again, with the oversight of the board, certainly. That's the really big part of this, is you're getting that kind of, in-depth savings from, everybody pooling their groups together.
And we do have an aggregate program, as you know, that was before I even got here. We
Yeah.
renewed it once since I've been here. It's, coming up for renewal again next year. They try to renew it now
Yes.
in advance. But we do have a time frame. We need to, if we don't go with that person, we have an out clause to give them advance notice. We don't have to do this. I asked, it's like an RFP to find an energy provider, because that's what they do. So I guess it is the decision of the board on who we sign up with without having to put it out for bid to find out who our RFP bid person is, to do that. And my thoughts on this initially, and why I asked them to be here again today, was there are 63 other counties, 60 doing both. The ones all around us are doing it, the service they've gotten. I've reached out, some of the other counties, they're happy with the service they've gotten, or they've received. And not that we're not happy with ours, but if we can do better and not be the island of one thing, that if something were to happen with the one thing, we don't have the backing of all the other counties around us to go. And I do like, again, getting in and staying in good graces with CCAO and being part of the state of Ohio team with this thing, and having to say, potentially us, they said, we do have board members made up of other county commissioners that are walking our shoes, who have been through this. We're not reinventing the wheel on this thing.
No, I agree. I think it's time to, give them a shot and see what we can do. Yeah.
We look forward to working with you. It'd be great.
Yes, sir, Mr. Allen.
James Allen, Allen Way Farms. This program, does it work just like the irrigation that the county has now? Because like us, Martha's probably in the same boat. She's got oil well gas. We can't use the county program. Because the companies that supply us with our natural gas does not allow people to put their gas into the pipeline. I'm just fortunate a little bit at my company that I buy 2,500 MCFs a year, where Northeast, natural gas allows me to pick a supplier, but I have to pick it off of their list.
Yeah, unfortunately, this program can only go behind the large investor-owned utilities, such as, you know, your Dominion, Columbia's, First Energy utilities, that sort of thing. So it does not go to the REA type utility or the municipality utilities. Legally, we can't do that.
I'd like her to stop.
Now, would townships be able to sign on with us on this, or
We are talking.
other cities?
We run several different programs. We're talking right now about facilities for the county, for both electricity and natural gas. Townships could come into our program on their own. They would probably not come in through you. But primarily, we also then have the government aggregation programs, which, you know, might be in play here if townships were interested in having a program. To do a government aggregation program, there has to be a vote of the people. Once it's approved, the political subdivision that put the question on the ballot manages how they'd like to run that program, and a lot of it's, we just go from there, figure that out one step at a time.
Right. The difference there is we're talking about pooling for your county facilities. There's a very specific difference in words in the PUCO. Pooling is we can do together, bring everybody together. What he's talking about is government aggregation, that's your residential, your small commercial, that side of the equation.
That's the big one.
That's a big, and that program has roughly 450,000 meters in it, with the CCO as well. And the CCO, to your question, can other people participate? Absolutely. We have a lot of townships, we have a lot of counties that aggregate. We also have, 5 or 6 years ago, the Ohio Municipal League joined with the County Commissioners Association. So now they have a program which is a subset of this program that participates in everything we've been talking
But
about.
does it add to the kilowatt total? For everybody?
Absolutely.
And what, on this map here too, I see you got the purple, you got the blue, you got the red, but then you got the purple with the lines in it, like Columbiana. What does that
So the
mean
lines,
differently?
if there's lines in it, it means that is part of that partition in the actual aggregation.
Right.
That's what we're talking about with the residential aggregation program on there.
We also have, Commissioner Frenchco on the line. Commissioner?
Go ahead, Commissioner, *6, would appreciate your input on this also.
Hello?
Yes.
Hello?
Okay. No, we've been, when I first started, we were contacted by so many people who provide the service, the same service, that the Buckeye provides and that the CCAO, suggested, vendor provides as well. And, we were supposed to be doing RFQs just to be able to see who all was interested, because my concern was they kept using the same one year after year after year. And he's relatively local, you know, I think he's out of Akron or something, but some of them are even more local. And I think it's important to be able to consider the cost savings, and look at what we've been paying before, compared to what their communities, were paying before. I'd like to be able to compare, and be able to see the difference between the cost savings. And also, if we pull out and don't use the same one as we have been using, could that have an adverse effect to all the other smaller political subdivisions? Does that make sense, Mauro?
Yes, but, well,
Okay.
two different things, the county assets and then the aggregation program, right? Am I correct here? So, right now, we're focusing on county assets, county buildings,
Right.
correct? So, yeah, I mean, all that data could be, I don't know, John.
Yeah,
you can
I
speak
want
to that.
I want to be able to see that, and we might need to get with Buckeye to be able to compare, you know, because if it comes to being equal or relatively equal, and not a real cost savings, I personally prefer to give work to people who are local, if that makes sense.
Well, I understand
So-
that too, Commissioner. I do.
Okay. So
Yeah,
I
Kirk,
just would
would
like
you
to be
like
able
to-
to, at some point, see, at some level, I'd like to be able to see the numbers and the difference and what what the savings looks like it would have been if we were there last year, for example, you know?
I think one of the strongest things for the CCAO program is when you take into consideration, again, the size of the overall pool that they are managing, and again, having other counties that are all like-minded and having run by county commissioners such as yourselves, or county administrators or facilities people, it gives you flexibility, as well as the fact, again, the size of the pool is just a huge benefit for all these participating counties that you automatically get when you jump into the pool.
So I hear your words, but I like to see numbers. So that's what I am requesting, that someone in our office pull together what you, to compare to, well, yeah, someone from, I mean, because we have,
We don't have that
the
data.
numbers.
Oh,
from,
you mean that, I thought you meant the data that they would provide us, not our numbers.
Yes, to compare, well, what our
to
numbers
compare.
are, yes, that's what I'm looking for, to be able to
Okay,
compare. 'Cause,
gotcha.
I mean, I understand that it sounds wonderful, and if it's that indeed that wonderful and that much of a savings, then I'm all for it. But I think it's also prudent to compare, just to verify and confirm that that's what the county would be realizing in significant savings too.
Right, and that's exactly the meeting that I had last time. Of course, we provided you with the numbers we had last time. I got the copies from Sheriff, from some of our past bills and stuff that I believe that we emailed. Did you get copies of that? I emailed that over to you, I believe, last time we met. Anyway, yeah, we'll look at the numbers
Yeah,
and see.
that's what I would like, to be able to look at them side by side at a meeting together with our board, you know, before we move forward one direction or another. I just think it would be nice to compare last year for us, or the last 3 years for us, to the last 3 years of theirs. Just, I think that would be wise. And to consider, you know, some of the other vendors who do this locally have just quit trying, because the board just completely renews. Once they pick someone, they just kind of renew it, contrary to the board's policy that says that we're still going to seek and look and consider others. They just dropped off, but we've had others also who are interested. So I really want to look and compare before moving.
I agree, but there's other factors too.
Okay.
There's the insurance factor. There's small brokers will probably promise us the world, maybe taking the shorts the first year to get our business. That doesn't mean they're gonna be here long term. I like the pulling power, like you said, of the strength of other counties around us, of commissioners being on the board, making the decisions, and I don't see how any local person around here is gonna have the pulling power of the 63 counties combined are gonna have as far as wattage.
Just, they do the other vendors do the same thing. It just, they might not be using counties, but at the end of the day, you need to look and see what we're getting and compare numbers, not just, this looks like a wonderful thing. And that's not what's been happening. It's just like, if someone pitches a nice pitch, it's like, let's do it, as opposed to looking and seeing and comparing and then making a decision. And that's what I'd like to urge the board to do relative to this matter.
And that's been part of the plan altogether with this. Of course, we'll look at figures. We're not making a decision on this indiscriminately without that. We're just hearing what they have to say first, and then take it to the next step. And then, of course, if Buckeye or anyone else, you know, wants to provide figures that show there's difference, of course, we'll listen to that too.
Well, that's why what I had us vote on that we passed in 21 and hasn't happened, was doing a request for qualifications or something, information, just so that we could see what the others are willing to do. They're not coming to us anymore as a county because we've just been renewing the same person. So there are others, and they're not going to know. We can't compare them unless we do a request to hear from other vendors who provide the same services. They just happen to reach out. Yeah. And there was one more thing that doesn't relate to this that I wanted to bring up, and I hope Bill Danzo's in the room as well. And I don't know if Casey is still there. is Tracy still there?
No,
Okay.
neither of them,
You see the agenda item there, related, to the, and I don't have it in front of me right now, related to the 911 agreement,
yes.
okay? That language says that, that she would be signing. The department heads do not sign anything. The commissioners are the ones the only body that has the authority to contract, on behalf of our departments and other, county entities. So that needs to be changed to, the Board of Commissioners or, the president and the board on behalf of the county or something like that. So that needs to be corrected, and I just wanted to point that out before tomorrow.
We did not see the contract yet, so it may be that way. We haven't seen the contract yet to
Well,
look at it.
it's not about the contract, it's about yes, and I already requested a copy of it yesterday, but at the same time, that agenda item is incorrect because it doesn't matter what it says, the contract would have to be corrected to reflect that the Board of Commissioners signs. We are the only ones who could be signatories for any agreement related to the county, not a county employee or department head or anything like that. And I'm sure that the CCAO representative could confirm that as well. So I'm just requesting that be corrected, on the agenda tomorrow, Lisa.
Okay, let's moving on. Thank you.
Okay.
I'm Alex Stephen Jonesy Bush. I just want to make sure that, to round this out, when we're looking at apples to apples, I just want the board to understand that you need to look at apples to apples. So I'm hearing this is just the facilities that they're proposing at this time. So just please make sure, I mean, you guys can step in at any moment, but please make sure when you're looking at everything that we offer right now, we offer the county aggregate, we offer all the other things. So please make sure that whoever is looking at this is looking at apples to apples, not just the holistic, because it's different than what they're proposing right now. They're saying, I think what I'm hearing you saying is, right now you're just proposing facilities we may be able to get to a future with other things, but right now you're just proposing facilities, correct, for our buildings?
I mean, sure, that's what we're here for. We are able to support you and help you deliver facilities pricing or government aggregation pricing.
Okay.
If you're offering that now, but, that's under, I'm sure, a certain contract period. That
Yeah.
be renewed every 3 years, and
I
we
just
can
wanted to look at all of that while they're...
We can look at that and do collectively the entire energy program for you, but there are, in essence, 4 different pieces. There's GovAg for gas, GovAg for electric, and facilities gas and facilities electric. So we have 4 different programs.
And that's exactly to your point, what I'm just a little not concerned, but I just want to make sure that if they're looking at all 4, they're looking at all 4 and all 4. Do you see what I'm saying? So that way they're not kind of cherry picking, I'm looking at this, but then it's not a proper measurement of what really the numbers really are.
And as far as pricing goes, the market, it's a demand market. Pricing fluctuates daily.
Every day, yep.
And so, what's your pricing today?
Right.
Yeah, it could be,
might be totally irrelevant.
different. And that's another,
we got X amount of pricing 6 months ago.
Yeah, and we can show that.
Well,
if we can look at like.
Not you, but we can see that in our
Portage County
contracts, the price changes every single time. So,
We can look
you
at,
know what I mean?
possibly like Portage County or Ashtabula County, what they were paying per MCF or whatever of July of last year compared to what we were paying under our program. Those are easy for us to figure out.
And it depends when you go out to contract.
That's true.
Because, their contract might have been up or their supply was available, and the market might not have been real favorable that day, and they still agreed to take it. And we can also.
That's why it's hard to
That's very
compare
true.
apples.
It's like a rolling, you know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Because
And that's
it
part
could
of,
change from the time you're voting on it to the time the.
But you understand what she was saying there, is there something you could provide that way to satisfy?
But it's still not a true marker of what's going on,
It's not.
because unfortunately.
It's what
It's volatile.
What did you put on the market today and what price did you get for it based on
Right.
your load factor?
Sure.
And load factors are a big thing that affects pricing. How you use it, when you use it, has a significant impact on what you're gonna pay per kilowatt hour or for MCO.
What is your contract? Is it year, 2 year, 3 year, 5 year?
It's your contract. you would join the, program, and that is an extended period of time contract. And as a member of the program, then we offer each of the alternatives, and you can, you know, do one other, whatever, at whatever time period, and you can set your contract period. You know, if you want 1, 2, or 3 years, we usually ask for 3-year options, 1, 2, and 3 year, and pricing will vary. You know, if you want a 12-month, 24, 36-month, and work within that, and you can choose.
And that is something too, you know, to put on
Or
RFP.
you can, during the course of the contract, you can re-up for, if there, is there a chance where during the course of that, when you see rates getting lower, that we can opt in for more years, or is that closed off?
Historically, that's the whole point of the program.
That's
We don't,
that's what we've been so fortunate to do, is I think, in my opinion, our representative came to us when, you know, and we expect that same service, obviously, but when prices were low, and there was always that communication to re-up again, and we always got favorable deals.
one thing that we don't do is, though, we will not put you in a situation, if we see a market run up, we'll just say, not a good time for you to transact.
Right.
Don't care if it's not good for the program, not good for you, but what we'll do is put you in good situations. If you look out 2, 3, 4, 5 years, even some counties go out 5, 6 years even on some of their deals.
Right.
If it makes sense financially, we'll put a recommendation out there to do it. If it doesn't make sense, we won't do it. But we're always looking out there.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's our next step then, Commissioner? What would you like to do?
I mean, they put out the RFP process for all this stuff, and they give us the information, we can look at it, and, if there's some past history that a commissioner needs to look at, I mean, again, that's not necessarily apples to apples, because it could be just timing.
And an RFQ wouldn't be apples to apples either, because
No.
everyone can give a pitch on, they'd all be speculation.
No, it's all consulting, so it's, I mean,
In essence, from the standpoint of the consulting aspect, I mean, utilizing our program is just part of what we do. So,
you anticipate certain things, and you let us know
yeah.
when those prices are
I think
different.
another critical thing about our program too, that I think I take great pride in is, we don't work with you to secure a contract for you today and not see you until the next contract's up.
Right.
I mean, you know, we have a weekly newsletter that you receive to keep in touch with what's
And
going
that's
on in
key.
the energy markets. You have 24/7 access to me or our Department of Energy folks, billing issues, Palmer staff takes care of that. I mean, we're a full service 24/7 support for our counties that are in our energy. I think that makes a big difference.
Please feel free, obviously, to contact all the counties, and we can give you the board list of who's participating. Ask them about it. The program hasn't lost anybody this program over the last, since 2009.
That speaks volume,
There too, I
yeah.
haven't lost anybody. I mean, that's who we are and what we do. If that's what all
Right.
the other counties are doing, why reinvent the wheel? And, you know, I think the risk is worth the reward, or the reward, I should say, is worth the risk. Okay,
Thank you for your time today.
Thank you, thank you.
any other further information you could provide us?
Yeah.
Other than-
We actually, do you have the contract?
Yeah, I brought a flash drive that has the CCO agreements on it, so a lot easier than killing a bunch of trees.
It is.
Well, okay, she can,
Okay.
yeah, that's fine, thank you. We're gonna kill them for you.
Well, better you than us, right?
We
Info
feel
package
that,
out
yeah,
there.
that's right.
That's just Palmer stuff, if you want it,
Yeah.
feel free to have it.
Let's do one just so.
Okay. The agreements, though, historically, what happens, the prosecutor or your legal staff looks at them, they can make changes on the Word document back if they have any questions on it,
Okay,
that sort of thing.
thank you, gentlemen, for the drive up here, I know it's,
Kane, if you can, do you have one more of these that we can put in?
Here, you can have
Commissioner
mine.
Frenchco's package?
two more. And John has been with CCAO as long as I've been there, I know that you were legal counsel there for a while, and, now vice president, I guess, is that correct?
That's
How many years have you been with CCAO?
4 less than Cheryl. Cheryl is in year 27, and I am in year, what's that make it, 23? Yeah.
I'm the auditor.
Always so respected, and we appreciate the legal end of it that you've given us for years, and now in your position now, so thank you for coming.
We try to do our very best for our members, 'cause that's what we're here for.
And you do, you do.
Okay. Okay. I think that conducts our workshop business for today.
Yeah,
I'll entertain a motion.
make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
Mr. Cantala Mesa,
Yes.
Mr. Malloy,
Yes.